Hey, welcome back everybody. Today we got the Faded one of Zero, or the one that moves from Zero, Blangdmire deck. I wasn't expecting to cover this so soon because there were other decks I wanted to talk about before they got their second wave of support in November, but I haven't received the rest of the stuff for Jejuled or Leonor, not Leonorn. Well, Leonorn, yes, but Jejuled or the new Stokia girl or Leo Draconis. So we're talking about this because this is a deck I've just kind of been goofing off with on the side, having fun with. Uh, I got sort of an interesting build. It's kind of like a mix of the third turn kill deck and the standard Blangdmire. So we'll just hop on into it, and we're gonna start with. You guys can go over here for a quick second. The ride line. So we got the little guy, the little grade zero. We got Hollow Raptor, which has the ability when the grade two rides over it, you're gonna reveal top three, and anything that's grade one or higher goes to Soul. The rest goes to bottom of deck, and if you or if you put two or more cards into Soul, you draw a card. And then Vacant Fang, which is the same effect when Blangdmire rides over it, but instead of it just going to bottom and you draw, at the end of it you shuffle your deck and then you draw a card. So you get those triggers off the bottom of your deck, which is really good. And then obviously Blangdmire, um, the the key piece of the deck. I'd rather play because of the new Blangdmire Nexus. You can technically, if you wanted to, play Nexus in the ride line and just play more copies of Blangdmire in the main deck. I'm not personally a fan of that, so I'm sticking with the just casually playing it on turn four. So what this does is when it swings, you get to bind up to four cards from your soul, and then for every two face down bound, you get uh, plus five, a plus five for each. So on your first grade three turn, this normally will swing for 23, but if you have things that'll bind face down beforehand, it'll get bigger. And then you also get to draw a card and make your opponent bind two of their regards face down. And then the Divine skill that this card is going to give to Blangdmire Nexus is just that on the beginning of the guard step, your opponent's Vanguard loses all their abilities. It gets a crit, and your opponent can't Sentinel for the rest of the turn. So if in the off chance you do not kill your opponent, which you really want your opponent dead, like the turn you activate this, but if you don't get to kill your opponent, you do kind of cripple them pretty hard because they'll have to Persona ride in order to get Vanguard abilities back on, or they'll have to like ride into a new card, or uh, and their hand's going to be pretty drained because you're going to take every single shield that isn't a perfect guard out of their hand just to survive, which is really nice. So that's it for the ride line. Very standard. Moving on to a heavy grade 3 count. So we'll talk about Blangdmire Nexus, 4 copies. So this is similar to this one, but he's a main phase to do the bind 4 cards, and he can also bind Blangdmires as the cost for it, which is really cool to cover the 4 cards. But he gets the power on activation too. So if you lose any cards from bind, which could be from his skill, like he won't even count that. But you bind 4 during main phase. Your opponent's gonna bind 2 of their rear guards face down, and then you have the option to either draw or call a card from your face down bind to the field, which will normally be your Vadrock Dragon, which we'll get to when he gets there. And then his other ability is he's like the Varga Rakshasa, I believe is the English name, but where if it rides over the original, it counts as Persona Ride, and he has the ability if you have the original in Soul, your front row rear guards get plus 5, and he inherits the Divine skill, which is really cool. So that is the main star of the deck, and then on to this is the like I guess unconventional part. So I'm playing 4 copies of this Colossus and 4 copies of this Clown. So they both have the same ability, which is when they get put to soul, they immediately bind themselves face down. The Colossus draws you a card, and the this will give one of your rear guards or one of your cards +5. But if you have 8 or more bound face down, it gives +10 instead. So the idea with this is hitting like really big soul charge, binding as many of these as you can, because realistically, uh, beforehand you used to just be like, oh well, I'll have 8 or 9 cards in bind, and it was whatever uh, on your like supposed kill turn. But with the addition of this clown, you can almost aim for what's it called? 13 or 14, whichever one gets you to that next threshold of extra power, which is really nice. So that was kind of the logic I had when maxing out on these, and I have like a couple cards to sort of proc off that. And then lastly is the Regalis piece. I play Caliburn. Caliburn's fine. I think there's a lot of situations where I like either need extra cards in hand or I really want that extra counterblast. So I think that's the perfect fit for this. Realistically, you can play your choice of Regalis piece. I'm personally just picking uh, this one because it fits how I want to play the deck, and also realistically based off the ride line, like you'll normally soul charge your Regalis piece, so it's like not that big of a deal as to which one you play. But I think this one is personally my favorite one for Blangdmire himself. That is it for our grade 3 count. Again, it's really heavy, but I think it kind of works out just fine. So we'll move that. If I could get you to just chill there, cool. On to the grade 2s. So I'm playing 4 copies of Fade Rock Dragon. Fade Rock Dragon's really cool. Um, I had to pick him up silver rare because he kind of reminds me of like a Dark Souls boss, or even an Elden Ring boss. Like he's pretty cool. But he is on place. I believe not during the battle phase. You soul charge one, and then you can counterblast one to call a card out from your soul. And if your Vanguard is not Blangdmire, it goes back to soul at the end of the turn. So you can call something out from the soul, like on grade 2 for early rush, but realistically, I normally just save it in hand for the permanent call. And he also gets +10 continuously for every 4 cards in bind. So with how I've put this deck together, with the goal of trying to hit like 13 cards in bind, this should be swinging for 30k by itself. And if you did the Persona ride and you have the Blangdmire and Soul, it'll be swinging for 45, which is really cool. And lastly, 3 copies as a Moog. It feels really weird to not play 4 copies of this, because that's what I've been doing for the longest time. But 3 seems fine just now. Zamoog is when he's placed, you counterblast 1. If you're on Blangdmire, you reveal top 3, and you put as many cards as you want into the soul, and then you shuffle. If you put 1 or more cards, you get to draw a card. So it helps you kind of like thin out for triggers, because hitting you want to you really want to sack your opponent like as hard as you can. And his other ability is when he attacks a grade 3, or if you have a grade 3, oh god, Blangdmire, he gets +5 for an Energy Blast 3, and he gets a crit. But he can only get the crit if he doesn't have an extra one already. So he again, this used to be a 4 of in the deck because you'd want to set up like extra of this, but it doesn't come up as much that I want the extra copy. You normally find one, and one is realistically all you need. So we're on 3 of that. And that's it. Very small grade 2 lineup. And we're on to the grade 1s, which I have a kind of decent bit. We have 4 copies of Elaborate Wizard. He's our he's our peace finder from the deck. So his important ability is at the end of a battle he boosts. If you're on Blangdmire, you counterblast 1, bind him face down, and you get to grab a card from a normal unit from your soul to your hand. So off of the ride line or any other card, if you soul charge like your Blangdmire Nexus and you're like, shoot, I don't have that anymore. Like I don't have one in hand. You can grab it back. You can grab a Perfect Guard back. You can grab a Vade Rock back if you really want to. There's a lot of different things you can grab off this, and its other ability is just on play. Look at top two, one to soul, one to bottom of deck. So it's an extra chance to find those grade threes. Three copies of Netherworld Butcher. So his on play stops your opponent from intercepting if you're on Blangdmire, which is kind of nice because there's a lot of people going back to decks like Ava right now. At least from what I've seen, there's a lot of people going to Ava. Uh, Vergilla is a very important deck in the meta, so stopping them from being able to intercept with their 15k shield or 20k shield, depending on if they bound the promo or not, is really nice. But the other ability, which is kind of the really important part for this strategy, is when it boosts, you get to take a card from your drop and put it to your soul. So realistically, the extra grade threes that I play, like the Colossus and the Clown, uh, they are like when you're riding up, you just want to keep discarding them, uh, because they're not doing as much in your hand. Obviously, they can bind themselves or they can get themselves to soul on your field, but I just don't think it's worth keeping other cards over them. So this will start taking them from your drop zone and putting them back into your soul, which will get you draws, it'll get you power, uh, and that is kind of the appeal of this card. I got three copies of Evoke Alchemist. This is your Blangdmire a special booster that will restand something if it boosts Blangdmire, and if you have 8 or more bound face down, it will give the stood unit plus 10. It's plus 10 or 15. I think it's 15 actually. Yeah, it's plus 15. My bad. It'll give it plus 15, which is really good. So your Zamoog can on a Nexus turn, which would be your turn 4. It'll swing for 30 first, and then when you restand it, it can swing for 45 with a crit as long as you have all your energy open, which I think is really good. And 4 perfect guards. You can play Sanctitude if you want. It's kind of the same logic I have with the Regalis piece, where I normally end up soul charging these most of the time, so I don't feel desperate to be like, oh man, I gotta have the one Sanctitude for this deck, because it just goes to soul. And we're not really trying to play. This deck isn't trying to play the grind game. We're kind of we're politely looking at our opponent on turn 4 and being like, hey man, I need you to just not make it through this turn. And lastly is the trigger lineup. So uh, over trigger is completely up to you. I'm playing this because I think it looks nice and it kind of goes with the theme of the deck, which is just high roll. So if you flip this turn 1 or turn 2, you give your Vanguard the ability. It's going to get 10k in a crit for the rest of the fight. So your turn 3 becomes scarier, and your turn 4 becomes way scarier because you can threaten lethal on 3 damage with your Vanguard swing, which is kind of fun. But the only other over trigger that I think is like really necessary for this deck is uh, the yellow over trigger, because you can if you flip it turn 3 and your opponent's trying to block you early, you can just be like, hey, you're not blocking me anymore, and I'm going to draw a bunch of cards so I can survive your turn. Uh, I think it's pretty nice, but I'm going with the Dark States OT for now. I am playing 8 critical because there is just not a reason to not play 8 critical in this deck. Same with the fronts. You got to play the effect fronts because this decks out super easy, and then the heal triggers. So the trigger lineup is like probably the most straightforward part of the deck in terms of what you'll see in variants. But that is it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Get the guys back out there again. Bam, bam. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope to bring some other stuff from set 10 soon. I just need something to come in the mail, you know. But we got we got more Vanguard stuff planned for sure, and definitely I'm gonna be getting back on some Yu-Gi-Oh stuff when that comes in, because I've been really enjoying the Genesis format and even just playing regular modern day Yu-Gi-Oh. So I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.